Before we begin, guys, please subscribe. We're really trying to reach 100,000 subscribers, and we'll be doing a huge NeoPixel Saber giveaway from Fantasy Sabers for the milestone. Let's start this story as Palpatine is interrogating Fives. Fives has been investigating the inhibitor chips after his fellow 501st clone trooper Tup's malfunction and caused him to unalive Jedi Master Tiplar. Fives thought there was something more insidious going on, and he was right. Palpatine interrogates Fives by himself after asking Shakti to leave, but tells Fives that he was right about everything. The inhibitor chips are part of a more deeper plot to force the clones to do anything, even kill the Jedi. The truth set Fives off as he broke free from his constraints and stole a blaster from one of the guards and pointed it at Palpatine. In the original timeline, Palpatine did this to make Fives look crazy and blame it on his inhibitor chip, and therefore he didn't react, as he believed Shakti would push him off with the Force before he could fire his blaster. Shakti held back. The Force told her to let Fives do this and fire upon the Chancellor. She didn't know why, but the Force told her this with a strong conviction, as she watches as Fives shoots the DC-15A blaster directly into Palpatine's chest, killing him. Fives was arrested immediately for what he had done, and news of the Chancellor's death spread around the entire galaxy. Shakti reports what happened to the Jedi Council, who admits to them all what she felt through the Force, that she felt the Force tell her to let Fives do it, to kill the Chancellor. This shocked the Council, as all of them reached out with the Force to search for the truth of the situation. Windu says that it could have been the dark side behind her thoughts. Maybe the mysterious Sidious was attempting to corrupt her mind, but Shakti tells them it can't be, that she definitely felt it was the light side of the Force. Yoda ponders on this, telling them the Force must have told her this for a reason, and they decide to summon Fives in front of them to get the truth of the situation. Fives stands in front of the Jedi Council as they all study him intensely. Yoda asks him why he killed the Chancellor, and Fives told them the truth. The Chancellor told him the clones were to be used in a plot against the Jedi, and the inhibitor chips were at the key of this. After his questioning, Fives was taken back to prison. His fellow clone troopers Rex and others in the 501st, as well as Anakin, fought for his freedom. But with the murder of the Chancellor, there was nothing they could do, and he was sentenced to life in prison. The Republic was in a difficult spot. A clone had just killed the Chancellor, but they couldn't just stop using them, since they were the key to the war effort. Lead Council members meet with the Republic Security Council to discuss what they think of the inhibitor chips and whether they knew about them. Organa states that he didn't, and they weren't on any of the clone schematics, which meant that the Kaminoans are definitely hiding something from them. The Kaminoans are brought in front of the Republic courts and asked about the inhibitor chips, and are now forced to tell the truth, as if it came out later that they were lying here, it wouldn't end well for them. They say that Sifo Dyas originally asked them to program contingency orders into the inhibitor chips of the clones, which can force them to obey any command, and provided them a copy of the list. The 150 contingency orders were read through by the Republic Security Council and members of the Jedi Council present, and they find Order 66, the order that forces the clones to hunt down and kill the Jedi. Fives was right, and only the Chancellor could execute these orders. So what did Palpatine have against the Jedi? Is what Fives told them the truth? The Kaminoans are told they must reverse engineer the inhibitor chips and have 1 week to do this, to create a device capable of deactivating them. They are already going to be sanctioned with massive lawsuits, but failure to do this will only make it worse for them. The Jedi Council meet after the revelation and discuss Palpatine, who no doubt had the goal of wiping out the Jedi. Mundi proposes the question, was Palpatine working for Darth Sidious? Murmurs scatter as this dark truth is thrown out through the Force. The shroud of the dark side had fallen after Palpatine's death, and Yoda proclaims that maybe Palpatine was Darth Sidious, and all this time, the Jedi were dancing in the palm of the Sith, one command away from extinction. The Council meditate on this, feeling the currents of the Force, and realize that Yoda must be right. The Kaminoans produce the device that is capable of disabling the inhibitor chips, and it's used on all clones all around the galaxy, and they are now fully under the control of the Republic. Fives is in a difficult situation, because technically what he said has been proven correct. However, he did murder the Chancellor, and even if he was right, this was a capital offense. However, this did change his situation. He was moved from maximum security to a lower security prison and a nicer facility where other clones and Anakin could visit him. A new democratic election is held where Mon Mothma is elected as Chancellor. The Sith are no longer in control of the Republic, and now the war has really become Republic versus Separatists. Dooku couldn't believe Palpatine was dead. He thought his plans were iron strong, but now Dooku would have to make changes. Palpatine could no longer manipulate the war from his end, so Dooku decided he would take over the Republic with brute force. All-out war raged across the galaxy. Strategies changed on both sides as the conquest became a more chaotic struggle of power. In the original timeline, Palpatine commanded Dooku to hold back the Separatist forces, and in reality, they could have created far more droids and ships than they did, turning the tide of war in their favor. But they held back, so the war could be prolonged to create more chaos in the galaxy, allowing for the correct conditions for the destruction of the Jedi and rise of the Empire. However, Dooku no longer needed to do this, and unleash the full might of the Separatists on the Republic. Dooku was more of an idealist, rather than focusing on his galactic domination, as he believed in reformation through his Sith-tinged authoritarian rule. His first target would be a mass bombardment on Kamino to stop the production of new clones, and would strategically work on attacking systems that would lead him directly towards the capital of Coruscant. He sacrificed some of his outer systems of the Republic in order to make his way to Coruscant, because if he can capture Coruscant, he can win the war. However, the Jedi Council knew if they defeated Dooku, then the Sith's influence over the Senate would diminish, and could begin peace negotiations with the Separatist Council. They create a specialized task force consisting of Obi-Wan, Anakin, Quinlan Vos, and Aayla Secura to follow Dooku's movements, hunt him down, and bring him to justice. They spend months hunting him down, but the Count was not easy to capture, as he closely evaded the task force, but he knew they were on his tail, and had to push for the end of the war fast. The Separatists had taken the lead in the war, captured most of the Outer Rim, and started cracking the defenses of the Mid-Rim planets. The Republic was on the back foot, and Dooku decided it was time to make his move. Dooku launched the invasion of Coruscant, as this time he came towards the planet with 2 times the number of forces, as Separatist dreadnoughts bombed down the Republic Venator-class Star Destroyers, as Munificent-class frigates made their move closer towards the planet. Many Jedi were mobilized from the planet's surface to defend Coruscant, but the Separatist forces were too great and they were gunned down. The Council on the surface knew a bombardment of the surface was inevitable, and called for the evacuation of all Jedi into the lower levels of the temple, in the new orbital bombardment bunkers that had been built at the beginning of the war to withstand an invasion like this, unknown to Dooku of course. Dooku's ship started to break through the atmosphere as he rained down bombs onto the surface of the planet. He ordered many orbital bombardments on the Jedi Temple, and after a couple of runs, the temple was nothing but rubble and ashes. No Jedi could have survived the attack, as Dooku had thought he had successfully defeated the Jedi Order, even without Order 66. The battle now goes to the surface, where the ground troops land with 100,000 droids commanded by Grievous, and attack with the command to kill all clones and any Jedi survivors on the surface. He brings his own personal forces, as well as an extra 10,000 battle droids, to the Senate building, where they completely surround it, not allowing anyone to escape. They kill all the clones inside, and make their way to the chamber, which was in mid-session. Droids rush into every pod to show off his strength, as Dooku takes the center stage. With this, he proclaims the Separatists have taken over control of Coruscant and the Republic Senate, resulting in his victory and their defeat. The Jedi Order has been defeated, and forces above the planet will be decimated within the hour. He states the Republic Senate will remain, however, it will be under his command. They will exist solely to carry out orders, and will not be involved in any political discussion. He will issue more statements in the coming days, with changes to many barbaric and archaic Republic policies. But as Dooku goes to leave, he cannot believe the sight in which he sees. Anakin Skywalker, holding Grievous's head, stands beside Obi-Wan, Yoda and Windu, with the 501st Legion behind them. He couldn't believe it. He'd bombed the Jedi Temple. There was no way they could have survived that. But Windu proclaims that Dooku hasn't been a Jedi for a long time, and since then, they have made many changes to the structure of the temple, including bomb shelters for this very occasion. Dooku starts to panic. That means there are thousands of Jedi outside right now, engaging his forces, and the 4 strongest Jedi in the Order stand opposite him. He orders the droids to fire, and they do, as the 4 Jedi somersault forward, blocking and dodging the blaster fire. The 501st rush in, engaging the droids, as the senators duck in their carts, attempting to evade the rogue blaster fire. The 4 Jedi reach Dooku, who ignites his blade in response and is forced to engage the 4 of them in a lightsaber duel. However, he knew he had little chance. He was disarmed quickly, but Windu held his lightsaber to his throat, commanding that he calls off his forces now, but Dooku simply laughed, as he knows that's an empty threat, since the Jedi would never kill an unarmed prisoner, and he was right. They put him in handcuffs, and helped the 501st destroy all the droids around the Senate chamber. Above the planet, the Separatists had defeated the Republic forces, but all other Republic forces around the galaxy, and Jedi, were called into full retreat to fight back against the Separatists. With Grievous's defeat and Dooku's capture, the Separatist leadership was in disarray. Above the planet, Admiral Trench was in control of their forces, and contacted the Separatist Council on what to do, who called for Trench to capture the Coruscant with droids and take over the Senate building. Trench explained how they were having difficulty due to the Jedi's defenses, since they had already defeated the first wave of droids on the planet. Nuke Gunray speaks up, calling for Trench to bomb the entire planet. They can ensure the Jedi are destroyed, and create a new governing planet instead of Coruscant, and Admiral Trench obeys their orders. As Admiral Trench prepares to bombard Coruscant, the Republic and Jedi forces, battered and outnumbered, rally for one last desperate attempt to turn the tide of the battle. The Jedi Council, led by Yoda, Windu, Obi-Wan and Anakin, devise a bold counter-offensive plan, as they know if they lose here, Coruscant will be destroyed. They launch all of their single Arc 170s towards the space above. Anakin and Obi-Wan lead a strike force of Jedi Knights and Masters to infiltrate Trench's flagship and disrupt his communication systems. Meanwhile, Yoda and Windu take the 501st to set up anti-aircraft batteries and anti-bombardment systems that had been temporarily disabled as a last desperate defense mechanism. Anakin and Obi-Wan soared through Coruscant's skies with many Jedi on their tail. They knew it was a race against time. The Separatist dreadnoughts moved into positioning for the bombing, and once they started, it is unlikely they would stop. Anakin thought of Padme, her life motivating him in this last stand, as if he lost here, he would lose her forever, and that wasn't something he could do. He dodged the incoming fire as they were met with a swarm of Separatist fighters. Anakin ordered their forces to engage as the Jedi fought with an unrelenting resolve. They were outnumbered, however. They were better than the typical pilots and broke through the initial line of defense. Anakin's eyes locked onto Trench's hangar bay as he coordinated their fighters. They formed a hexagonal formation, the Jedi at the top taking the brunt of the fire as they rotated through their positioning, attacking the Separatist ships at different angles, and used this to successfully break through the atmosphere. The formation dissolved, spreading to the sides, as through the center emerged Obi-Wan and Anakin as they successfully landed on Trench's hangar bay. Obi-Wan rushed towards the communication center, whilst Anakin made his way towards the bridge, carving down droids left, right and center as he used his lightsaber to cut down the door Trench was behind. Trench pressed a button and commanded all of his forces to begin the bombardment. However, the command was met with no reception, as Obi-Wan had destroyed the central command system of their ship, and they had no way of contacting the rest of their fleet. Anakin destroyed the droids in the bridge and took Trench into their custody. They looked out the window to see the Republic reinforcements had arrived and engaged the Separatists in battle. Anakin had done it. Trench's capture and the reinforcements would defeat the rest of the Separatists. Trench and Dooku were taken into custody, where over the following days, the Jedi that survived the battle helped to assist Coruscant in the aftermath of the invasion. The Senate took session, where Mon Mothma proclaiming to the galaxy that the Republic had not been defeated, and with Dooku and Grievous's defeat, the Separatists would soon follow. The Separatist leadership was in disarray, and over the following couple of weeks, the Council was captured, forcing the Separatist Senate to surrender to the Republic, and the war was officially over. Fives was hailed for his role in the war. He single-handedly defeated the Sith, and may have saved the Jedi Order from destruction. He is freed from prison, and a statue of him is constructed next to the Jedi Temple, a reminder that even a clone, an insignificant life form, can change the course of the galaxy. As for Anakin, he was extremely proud of Fives, a key member of the 501st, and was happy with the war coming to an end. With this, Padme would become pregnant, but he would have no nightmares of her death since the Sith were extinct. He and Padme had many choices to make. It would only be a matter of time before the Jedi Council found out, but he knew his family, wife, and children would take priority. If you enjoyed this video, you have to ask, what if Anakin was expelled from the Jedi Order? And what if Anakin and Padme started the Empire? Please subscribe. We're doing a huge NeoPixel giveaway for 100,000 subscribers from Fantasy Sabers, so please help us out, and may the Force be with you.